Every morning is a silent battle, not against the world, but against your own mind. Most people wake up and, from the first minute, surrender to chaos. They check their phones. They run around aimlessly, react to everything, and so they lose control of their day before it even begins. But you're not here to repeat that unconscious routine. You're here because you know there's another way. A stronger, clearer, more stoic way. In this video, I'll share 10 lessons from Stoicism that will transform your mornings and help you master your mind from the first minute of the day. We'll talk about how to face voluntary discomfort, how to start with gratitude, how to stop seeking approval, and even how remembering your own mortality can give you power and direction. These aren't simple habits. They're philosophical tools that great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus used to not only survive, but also lead with clarity in the midst of chaos. If you apply these ideas, your tomorrow won't be the same, and neither will your life. Stay until the end, because every minute can be the beginning of a firmer mind and a day that's more yours. Before continuing, I want you to do something very simple but powerful. Scroll down to the comments and write this phrase: "Today will be a great day. I am a Stoic." It's not just for interacting, it's for you, because by writing it, you are programming your mind from that moment on to make your day spectacular. Write it now, and let's get started. 1. Decide what is and isn't under your control. What is and isn't under your control. Every morning before you go out into the world, stop for a moment and ask yourself a key question. What is truly under my control today? This simple reflection can make the difference between a day of frustration and a day of total control over your mind. The Stoics understood that the greatest source of human suffering comes from trying to control the uncontrollable, the weather, traffic, the economy, the opinions of others, even the actions of those around us. If you base your happiness on external things, you condemn yourself to a life of anxiety and dissatisfaction. However, what you can control is your attitude, your decisions, and how you respond to circumstances. Imagine that you encounter an unexpected problem. You can react with anger and despair, or with calm and determination. That choice will always be yours. Marcus Aurelius said it clearly: you have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength when you adopt this mindset. You regain your power. You stop being a victim of circumstances and begin to act with serenity and purpose. Practice this every morning. Over time, you will notice that you become more resilient, more focused, and less affected by external distractions. You will have control of the only thing that truly matters, your own mind. Before continuing, I would appreciate it if you would please like and share this video so that it can reach many more people. If you don't want to miss any of our future videos, subscribe and press the bell. 2. Define your purpose for the day. If you don't define your purpose at the beginning of the day, the world will do it for you. Distractions, external demands, and the urgencies of others will consume your energy before you realize it. And when night falls, you'll wonder, what did I really do today? The Stoics understood that life isn't about filling the day with meaningless tasks, but rather about living with intention. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great philosopher-emperors, began his mornings by reflecting on what truly mattered. He didn't let his time be consumed by trivialities. He directed his life with purpose. Defining a daily purpose doesn't mean having an endless to-do list. Rather, establishing a clear direction means asking yourself, what is the one thing that would make this day worthwhile? It could be a commitment to your work, your personal growth, your character, or your relationships with others. The problem is that many live their days aimlessly, like drifting ships, carried away by the winds of circumstances. They respond to messages, fulfill obligations, but don't make progress toward anything meaningful. The result is frustration, dissatisfaction, and the feeling that life is passing by without meaning. But when you start the day with a clear purpose, you take control of your destiny. Every action, every decision becomes a conscious step toward something greater. You no longer get lost in trivial matters because you have an internal compass that guides your choices. Stoicism teaches us that time is our most valuable resource and that every day is a unique opportunity. Don't let another day pass by unintentionally. Wake up clearly with a defined purpose and become the master of your day instead of a passive spectator. 3. Start with voluntary discomfort. Modern humans have been conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs. We seek hot water, abundant food, the comfort of the couch, and the security of routine. But what we forget is that excessive comfort weakens the mind and spirit. The Stoics understood that life is full of unexpected difficulties and that only those who train their internal resilience can face them with strength. That's why they practiced voluntary discomfort, intentionally exposing themselves to small discomforts to toughen the mind. The Stoics said, "Practice poverty from time to time. Wear simple clothes, eat little, and ask yourself, is this what you feared so much? Not because you despised wealth, but because you wanted to be immune to dependence on luxury and comfort." Voluntary discomfort is not unnecessary suffering, but a tool for growth. When you choose to expose yourself to the cold without a coat, taking an ice-cold shower, or fasting shows your mind that you can endure more than you think. You learn to be the master of your impulses instead of being their slave. Today, we live in a society that values instant pleasure and immediate gratification. Practice poverty. From time to time, wear simple clothing, eat little, and ask yourself, is this what I feared so much? Not because I despised wealth, but because I wanted to be immune to dependence on luxury and comfort. Voluntary discomfort is not unnecessary suffering, but a tool for growth. When you choose to expose yourself to the cold without shelter, take an ice-cold shower, or fast, you show your mind that you can endure more than you think. You learn to be the master of your impulses instead of being their slave. Today, we live in a society that values instant pleasure and immediate gratification. 4. Visualize the worst that could happen. Most people live in fear of the future. They fear failure, loss, criticism, or any unexpected event that could shake their stability. And without realizing it, this fear paralyzes them, makes them avoid risks, and leaves them at the mercy of uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, the Stoics prepared for it. They practiced a powerful technique called premeditatio malorum, the foresight of evils. This consisted of consciously visualizing the possible obstacles and difficulties that could arise during the day or in life. At first glance, this may seem like pessimism, but in reality, it's the opposite. It's a strategy to strengthen yourself mentally and face any adversity with serenity. A wise man explained it this way: prepare for everything. If fortune grants you more than you expected, you will be grateful. If it takes something away, you won't be taken by surprise. Imagine the worst. It doesn't mean obsessing over tragedy, but rather training your mind so that when something difficult happens, you don't fall apart, but rather act calmly and clearly. Think of a warrior before battle. He doesn't allow himself the luxury of ignoring dangers. Instead, he anticipates them and studies them and prepares for them, so that when the time comes for combat, his mind has already traveled that path and nothing catches him off guard. Life is unpredictable. You can lose your job, face an economic crisis, get sick, or receive bad news at any moment. But if you've already visualized those possibilities and considered how you could confront them, the impact will be lesser and the solution will be clearer. The Stoics didn't avoid thinking about adversity. They faced it in advance, and in doing so, they turned fear into preparation, uncertainty into strategy, and anxiety into total self-control. 5. Reflect on your mortality. About your mortality. Memento mori. The fear of death has tormented humanity since the beginning. We strive to ignore it. We pretend there will always be a tomorrow, and we postpone what is important as if time were infinite. But the Stoics understood an undeniable truth. Life is fleeting, and only those who remember its finitude can live with true intensity. Memento mori, remember that you will die, is not a macabre or pessimistic phrase. It is a call to action, an invitation not to waste your days on trivial worries, excuses, and meaningless distractions. Marcus Aurelius said it clearly. You are going to die, but you haven't stopped putting things off. But time passes, and life slips away. Those who forget their mortality live in the illusion that there will always be more time to pursue their dreams, to ask for forgiveness, to say I love you, to correct mistakes. But a day comes when that time is no longer here, and what remains are regrets. However, those who keep the reality of death in mind live with urgency, with gratitude and purpose. Every conversation becomes meaningful. Every day is an opportunity, and every action is imbued with intention. Modern society avoids talking about death, but the Stoics looked at it head-on, not with fear but with respect, because knowing that life is finite is not a condemnation, it is liberation. It is what reminds us to love without reservation, act without fear, and leave a mark on the world before we depart. There are no guarantees that we will see another dawn, but what is in our hands is to decide how we will live today. Should we waste this day on trivialities or seize it as if it were our last? The Stoics teach us that remembering death is not depressing. It is what allows us to truly live. 6. Don't react immediately to anything. Impulsiveness is a silent enemy that can ruin our relationships, our decisions, and ultimately our peace of mind. In a world where everything seems to happen instantly, messages, emails, opinions, the tendency is to react without thinking, get carried away by emotions, and act without awareness of the consequences. However, the Stoics taught something essential. True strength is found in the ability to respond calmly, not in reacting hastily. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, "We cannot control the events that happen to us, but we can control our response to them." This teaching invites us to recognize that emotions, although powerful, do not have to dictate our actions. When something bothers us, we should not act instantly. Instead, we should stop for a moment, breathe, and observe what we are feeling. Self-control does not mean suppressing emotions, but rather recognizing them and choosing how to act from reason and perspective, not from impulse and reactivity. When we allow our emotions to govern our responses, we risk saying or doing things we will later regret. Anger, fear, frustration, or anxiety, if not managed, can cloud our judgment and distort reality. By practicing pause, we give ourselves space for reflection. That small fraction of a second between stimulus and response is where our freedom lies. Instead of reacting angrily to criticism, we can analyze it objectively. Instead of giving in to panic in the face of difficulty, we can find solutions with serenity. The Stoics knew that our ability to choose how to respond to adversity is what defines our inner peace. It is not what happens to us that defines us, but how we choose to respond. By taking a moment to reflect, we transform every challenge into an opportunity to act with wisdom and control. 7. Reduce the need for approval. We live in a society that constantly tells us that we must seek external validation. Social media rewards us with likes. People judge us based on our decisions, and our self-esteem is affected by the opinions of others. However, the Stoics taught a powerful truth. True inner peace comes from not depending on the approval of others. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, warned us against the trap of external validation. Do not seek the admiration of others. Praise from others is always uncertain, always superficial. This teaching reminds us that no matter how much we seek the approval of others, it will always be volatile and subjective. What is appreciated today may be criticized tomorrow, and what you consider valuable may not be so to others. When we live seeking external validation, we become slaves to the expectations of others. We stray from our principles, adapting our personalities and decisions to conform to what others expect of us. This robs us of our authenticity and our freedom. The Stoics taught us that true freedom lies in doing what is right according to our own principles, regardless of what others think. It is essential to understand that we have no control over what others think or say. The only thing we truly have control over is our own behavior and our values. If we act according to what we believe is right, without letting outside opinions deviate us, we can walk confidently in our own direction. The approval of others is fleeting, but when we are aligned with our own principles, we find lasting satisfaction. Living to please everyone is an unbearable burden. Living with integrity and being true to yourself is true liberation. 8. Write in a Stoic journal. For Stoics, the act of writing is a powerful tool for reflection and self-knowledge. The Stoics understood that the mind, like the body, needs training and discipline. Journaling is not only an act of recording thoughts, but a practice of mental clarity and self-examination. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, is one of the best-known examples of how this practice can be a path to inner peace and self-growth in his meditations. Marcus Aurelius wrote every day, not with the intention of being read by others, but as a means of organizing his thoughts and keeping his mind focused on what truly mattered. It was not a simple record of events, but a tool for deep reflection on his virtues, his challenges, and his purpose. For him, the journal was a space in which reason and reflection could prevail over the chaos and emotions of everyday life. The writing process allows us to distance ourselves from emotions and impulsive thoughts, giving us the necessary space to organize our ideas, identify what affects us, and clarify our intentions. This is an act of self-control rather than reacting impulsively to events. We take a step back and observe them with perspective. By writing about the day ahead, we not only organize our intentions, but also mentally prepare ourselves for the challenges we may face. It is an opportunity to reaffirm our values, to remember that we have control over our reactions, and to define our actions wisely. Writing in a Stoic journal is an exercise in consciousness, an act of alignment between our mind and our actions. If Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men of his time, dedicated time each day to written reflection, we, with our own struggles and decisions, can also find in the Stoic journal a space for self-growth and clarity. 9. Start with gratitude. We often focus on what we lack. We want more success, more money, more recognition, more comfort. However, this constant desire for what we don't have can plunge us into a feeling of perpetual dissatisfaction. The Stoics, on the other hand, taught that the key to a full life lies not in the endless search for more, but in learning to deeply value what we already have. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to dissatisfaction and envy. When we are grateful for what we have, we take a step back and see life from a broader perspective. Everything we possess today, whether it be our health, our family, our freedom, or even our opportunities, are things that, at some point in our lives, we fervently desired. Instead of focusing on what we have not yet achieved, we can recognize that many of our past aspirations have already been fulfilled. Seneca said it clearly, "It is not the man who has little, but the man who desires more, who is poor." This teaching underlines that poverty is not only a material issue, but a mental condition. True abundance is found in the recognition and appreciation of what we already have. If we take a moment each day to remember and be grateful for what we have, we transform our perspective on life. The Stoics did not deny challenges or difficulties, but chose to see them as opportunities to learn and grow. Gratitude, then, is not an escape from reality, but a tool to keep us grounded in the present instead of getting lost in what we lack. It helps us live with a calmer mind and a fuller heart. Starting the day with gratitude not only changes our mindset, but also brings us closer to a life of greater peace and satisfaction. When we are grateful for what we have, we find true wealth. 10. Don't complain the first hour of the day. The first moment we wake up has a profound impact on how we experience the rest of the day. If we begin with negative thoughts, criticism, or complaints, our minds become tuned to a vibration of dissatisfaction, which can drag us down throughout the day. However, the Stoics understood that controlling our minds at the beginning of the day is essential to maintaining a life of peace and virtue. The first thought that arises upon waking defines the rest of the day. They said that when you complain or approach life with a negative attitude from the beginning, you condition yourself to see everything as a problem. You focus on what isn't working, what you don't like, what bothers you. This attitude not only consumes emotional energy, but also leaves you trapped in a victim mentality. Instead of focusing on what you can control or change, you surrender to the chaos of frustration. The Stoics, on the other hand, adopted a mentality of resilience and acceptance. Marcus Aurelius, for example, began his day by reminding himself that every difficulty is an opportunity to practice virtue. Instead of focusing on discomfort or problems, he chose to use his energy to face whatever might happen to him calmly and wisely. By avoiding complaints from the first hour of the day, we train our minds to focus on solutions instead of problems. We learn to live more serenely, to accept what we cannot change, and to act on what is within our control. Every day is an opportunity to start over, and by doing so with a positive attitude from the start, we align ourselves with inner peace. The first thought of the morning can define your day. If you wake up with gratitude and a focus on the positive, your mind will be prepared to face the day with clarity and determination, instead of getting trapped in complaints and dissatisfaction. If you made it this far, you've already taken a huge step toward mastering your mind and your mornings. Remember, every day is a new opportunity to practice Stoicism, not as a theory, but as a way of life. If any of these lessons resonated with you, imagine what applying them daily can do. Now, I invite you to continue digging deeper in the next video. We'll explore how to maintain this Stoic mindset even in the most difficult moments of the day. Don't miss it, because that's where character is truly built. If this video provided you with value, give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this content with your friends, family, or someone who needs to start their day with more clarity and inner strength. And remember to check the links in the description for resources and tools to help you on your path. Thank you for being here. See you next time.